ينشر الهدي إيمانا وموعظة فبالجهالة قد خابت مساعينا غابت مناقبنا واسود حاضرنا غابت مناقبنا واسود حاضرنا وأوشك اليأس أن يغشى أمانينا.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaban bikum. Welcome to another edition of the Sulaiman Ravat Show. This Sunday morning in the Mubarak and blessed month of Ramadan. It's the 29th of Ramadan. Can you believe it? It actually feels like it wasn't so long ago I was sitting here and we were saying it's the first Sunday in Ramadan. And it was the first of Ramadan that Sunday. Having the first night of Ramadan was a Saturday night. So the first day was a Sunday. And here we talk about the 29th night of Ramadan. And tonight, when the sun sets after Maghrib Salah, we go out seeking the moon. I know many people would want to see the moon, or they would want for the moon to be seen so that tomorrow can be Eid, and then you can have a kind of long weekend, a Saturday, Sunday leading into a Monday Eid. Although the chances are, the experts tell us, that it's more likely that the moon won't be sighted as compared to the likelihood of the moon being sighted. But ultimately, it's in the hands of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. It is likely, it is possible that the moon can be sighted, especially in the Cape region, because they have some extra time before sunset there. And therefore, we wait and see. We follow the sunnah practice of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Sumu li ru'yatihi wa aftiru li ru'yatihi. You commence your fast when the moon is sighted, meaning you look at the end of Sha'ban for the moon. If you see it, you start Ramadan. If you don't, you complete one more day, a 30-day Sha'ban, and then you start Ramadan. And the same applies at the end of Ramadan. And whilst I'm at it, let me just mention this point, that everyone is very interested in, and people very enthusiastically go out and seek the moon at the end of Sha'ban to see whether Ramadan is going to commence or not, and the end of Ramadan to see whether it's Eid al-Fitr or not, and perhaps to an extent the end of Dhul Qa'dah, although there isn't an immediate impact, but the end of Dhul Qa'dah will then determine when Eid al-Fitr will take place. But apart from that, we sense a bit of lethargy, a bit of lack of interest in sighting the moon on a monthly basis, and this is a sunnah to look for the moon every month. Whilst it is permissible for us to run our worldly affairs according to the solar calendar or the Gregorian calendar, our religious affairs are regulated by the lunar calendar. And we should know what date it is, what Islamic date it is, and we should know what Islamic month it is, and we should seek the moon, and we should encourage each other to do the same. And I know there are some communities that do so, punctually. Every month they go out on the 29th and they look for the moon. So yes, tonight we'll look for the moon. Some people will be hoping for it. Others will say an extra day of Ramadan will be great. But whatever the case may be, whatever little we have done, this is the time now we ask Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala for acceptance. We must complete good deeds with istighfar. Yes, istighfar is not only when you do something wrong. Even good deeds you complete with istighfar. Why? Because there's always deficiency. We can never fulfill the rights of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. So hence we say, oh Allah, whatever little I have done in this month of Ramadan, accept. Whatever weaknesses they were, forgive. Whatever lack of sincerity there was, overlook. And oh Allah, let this be the best Ramadan in my life, but not the last. Let this be the best Ramadan in my life and not the last. And let me take some of this momentum going forward. Let me take one or two resolutions in terms of the things that I will continue to do outside of Ramadan. Yes, we may not be able to do it to the extent that we were doing it in Ramadan. For example, if you take a resolution that I'm going to daily read Quran outside Ramadan. I have now developed this routine of reading Quran daily. That's a good thing. You may not be able to read as much as you used to read in Ramadan. Ramadan has its own climate. It has its own spiritual atmosphere. Everyone is involved, so it makes it easier. But at least do it to an extent. And the best of actions are those actions where even though it may be a little, but you are constant. You are constant. You continuously do it on a regular basis. So as Ramadan is drawing to a close, we must be asking Allah for forgiveness. We must be begging Allah for acceptance. Our state must be bayn al-khawfi wal-raja. Fear on the one hand that we didn't do enough and what we did was not good enough, but hope on the other hand that Allah is so mercy. Whatever little we have done, He will accept. Whatever supplications we have put in His court, He will accept as well. Also, I mean, we cannot but mention our brethren in Gaza, especially, and all those who are suffering wherever they may be suffering, in Syria, in Myanmar, in Egypt, in Yemen, and human beings who may be suffering in any part of the world. May Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala make it easy for them. A little towards the end of the program, I want to talk a bit and draw a comparison between, how we will be enjoying Eid and what Eid will be like for them, and how much that should result in us being grateful. and how many lessons we can learn from that, and how we need to contextualize that in a particular way in terms of driving us forward. But it's good to see, I mentioned this last week as well, that the momentum is with the Palestinian cause. People are starting to see right from wrong now in much clearer terms. There are still challenges. The Israeli PR machine is a strong one, globally and locally as well. But alhamdulillah, in the end, that's the promise of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Truth always prevails over batil. Truth always prevails over falsehood. And it's clear cut here. You've got an oppressor and an oppressed. You've got an occupier and you've got the occupied. And it's good to see in our country also many political analysts taking a stand, many politicians taking a stand, many political parties taking a stand. And the momentum is there. And these protest marches being well attended and people expressing, their disgust in terms of what the Israeli forces are doing in terms of this massacre. It's not a war, it's a massacre. It's that's what it is. It's the world's largest open air prison, and they're massacring women and children indiscriminately, and trying to create all these smoke screens about Hamas this and Hamas that and the firing of rockets. And we need to put all of this in context. And it's good to see people applying pressure in as far as those products are concerned. And we need to do all of this in a constructive way. We need to know what we're doing, what we're trying to achieve. We've got to be pragmatic and realistic and balance that with the emotion that we feel. So those are just some broad thoughts, but I want to talk a little bit more about Gaza and about Eid and tie it all up to the discussion as we go along, inshallah. Now, our topic for the last 4 Sundays has been a heart clean and free of hatred and enmity. And I explained last week that as much as we protest and we march and we write and we voice our disgust, all of that we need to do in terms of how Muslims are being oppressed in different parts of the world. True change will only come when we start changing ourselves. So on the one hand, yes, we are justified, for example, in criticizing Muslim leaders who are not overlooking their minor differences and joining hands to assist those who are oppressed and looking at the bigger picture. But then we are guilty of the same. We are guilty of the same. Within our own families, we are not willing to forgive, to forget, and to join hands with our own brothers, with our own cousins, with our own neighbors. We're not willing to let go of that baggage. We're talking about why these leaders are leaving oppressed people in the lurch, but we leave each other in the lurch. We suffer, although it may be on a smaller scale. But I've always been saying this, and I need to always say this, that change comes from the bottom up, not from the top down. Unity will start from the bottom up. So these topics that we are discussing, like this one, we obviously commenced it before all of this started in Gaza. But it's not the first time this happened in Gaza. What's happening in Syria is perhaps even far worse. It's just not making headlines at the moment. In the end, we need to do what we need to do for the immediate future. In terms of solidarity, in terms of conscientizing people, etc. But we also need to start doing the hard work. Marching and protesting, that's somewhat easier. The harder work is to start changing yourself. Each individual now taking the decision that, listen, Allah is not going to change our conditions until we change ourselves. That's the verse of the Quran. Inna Allah la yughayyiru ma biqawmin hatta yughayyiru ma bi anfusihim. And hence, I need to start changing myself. And how is it that I can be an asset to this ummah if my heart is dirty? If I've got jealousy and hatred and malice, rancor, animosity in my heart. Now, we've been discussing this for a number of weeks. We've spoken about how this hits at the core of your moral stability. You can be very pious, you can be very religious, but you lose a sense of what is right and wrong, what is fair and unfair. You become totally consumed and absorbed when you have hatred and malice for someone in your heart, and that results in you crossing all boundaries and can compromise your iman. It deprives you of the special mercies and blessings of Allah on special occasions like Ramadan and the odd nights, etc. Then we went on into a discussion where Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi had said there were 8 things that will flow as a result of a person having hatred and enmity in the heart. And some 2-3 weeks ago, we spoke about the first 2, and that was jealousy and constant arguing, constant debating in a way that's not constructive. Last week, we discussed the remaining 6. We said, when you have hatred and malice in your heart, when you have animosity in your heart, You start speaking to others in a very condescending way. You start treating people with contempt, whereas Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has forbidden that. And we explain that you should never, you can never consider yourself better than anyone else. If you see a small person, say, hey, that person is still small, not even responsible for his or her actions. That person is better than me. You see a senior person, say, you know what? That person is that person is alive longer than I am. That person has been worshipping Allah far longer than I have been worshipping Allah. That person is better than me. When you see a scholar, say, you know what, that person has been given what I haven't been given. That person knows what I don't know. That person is better than me. When you see an ignorant person, say, you know what, even if that person is sinning, it's out of ignorance. I'm sinning whilst I know better. That person is better than me. When you say an unbeliever, say, you know what, at the moment, I may have Iman, but possibly I could be deprived of Iman. That person could be blessed with Iman. That person could also potentially be better than me. So in that way, there's no room to consider ourselves better than anyone. Then the fourth one we discussed, or we said that you start ridiculing people, making fun of people when you have hatred and malice in your heart. The sixth thing we spoke about last week, we said you start carrying tales. We spoke about the difference between the namam and the qattat. The namam, he hears people talking about someone and then he goes and carries that story. A qattat, he goes and listens intentionally, and then he carries the story. And we spoke about all the warnings in that regard. Then we also spoke about the sixth consequence of having hatred and malice in the heart is that you downscale the relationship with the person. Previously, we had a very good relationship. Now it's a frosty one. Assalamu alaikum. How are you? Okay, I'm fine. How's things? Good. How's the family? All well. And you're on your way. So you kind of downscale that, and that's not good. You give the cold shoulder. The seventh is you totally sever relationships. Not only don't you want to speak to one another, you don't want to see each other's face. And we spoke about the consequences of that. We said that Islam gives you the 3 days to work over your emotions. But after that, you can never be united as an ummah. You'll never be united as an ummah if you're not talking to each other, if you're not reconciling your differences, if you're not forgiving and forgetting. You can never be united. If we can sort these things out at grassroots levels, with our own brothers, with our own wives, with our own children, in our own families, in our own homes, in our own communities, unity remains a pipe dream. And the last thing we discussed last week, from those 8 things listed by Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayh, is we said that it results in physical violence. What happens then is that if a person has hatred and malice in the heart, when all else fails, he starts to lash out. He becomes physical. Now, those were the 8 things that we discussed, which Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayh has written, is a natural consequence of having hatred and malice in the heart. We then just commenced with a discussion pertaining to some of these solutions. And the question that I posed last week was, how do we constructively deal with the person who has hatred and malice in their heart towards you? How do you constructively deal with such a person? And we had some good responses from our callers, some good interaction. And a little later on, I will be opening the lines. And the question for this morning, I'm going to give it to you now so that you can think about it, you can chew on it. Although you're fasting, you can chew on it. How do we use Eid? This great occasion of Eid, this celebratory atmosphere, this jovial atmosphere of Eid. How do we utilize it as an opportunity to clean our hearts, to offload all this baggage, to bridge the divide, to reconcile differences, and to get on as brothers, to get on as people who are bonded and who are linked with the kalima la ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Think about it. Now, for the next 15 minutes or so, I'm going to be focusing on some of the solutions. We've spoken now, we've highlighted the problem, we've spoken about the consequences. What are some of the solutions when it comes to having a heart which is clean and a heart which is free of hatred and malice? That's what I'm going to be focusing on. And after that, inshallah, we'll open the lines and we'll take your calls and your thoughts and your interactions with regards to that particular point. For now, though, we go for a quick break. And as I said, when we come back, inshallah, we are solution-driven. This last Sunday in this blessed and Mubarak month of Ramadan, you are watching the Sulaiman Ravat Show, and we are coming to you live from our studios in Sunning Hill, Johannesburg.
فبالجهاد بنى الإسلام قوته كاليأس أن يغشى أمانينا.
Welcome back. We continue the discussion now, this final part in the series with regards a clean heart, a heart clean from rancor, from hatred, from malice. Now, some of these solutions, how do you go about ensuring this? The first thing, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam has advised us, إِيَّاكُمْ وَالظَّنِّ. Be very careful about suspicion. Do not be suspicious of people unnecessarily. This is a big problem in the community these days. You see two people chatting from amongst your colleagues, you start to doubt, hey, maybe they're chatting about me. Now what happens? It starts to breed hatred in your heart. You see something, you very quickly interpret it in a negative way, whereas perhaps it was something really innocent, something really neither here nor there. Maybe the two of them wanted to discuss something, they just didn't want you to know about it, but it was nothing personal. So when you become overly suspicious, no one is saying become naive, where things are happening right under your nose, and you're so naive that people take you for a ride. They take you hook, line, and sinker, as the expression would go. But at the same time, don't be overly suspicious. Don't doubt everyone's intention, everyone's integrity. Don't think everyone's got daggers out for you. Everyone is just out to nail you. Everyone is just after you. When you do that, you lead a very pathetic life, to be honest, because you're never happy. You're absolutely frustrated all the time. You don't trust your own siblings. You don't trust your own spouse. You don't trust your own friends, your own colleagues. You're just all the time suspicious. You've got a suspicious mindset. This one is out to get me. That one is out to get me. You're thinking the worst of people all the time. So that's the first thing. Do not be unnecessarily suspicious. A lot of these suspicions are totally baseless. فَإِنَّ الظَّنَّ أَكْذَبُ الْحَدِيثِ. And in the verse of the Quran, in Surah Hujurat, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala tells us, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اجْتَنِبُوا كَثِيرًا مِنَ الظَّنِّ. Don't assume too much. Assumptions is the problem. You see, assumptions lead to suspicions. And suspicions then lead to hatred and malice, only for you to find out way down the line that it was all a figment of my imagination. The second thing is, do not go and pry, snoop. This is what we love to do. We love to do because we learn all this from the movies, you see. So somebody's busy with their phone all the time. Oh, what's he busy with? Maybe he left his phone and he went to the bathroom. Now you want to go into say, hey, is he perhaps chatting with some other woman? Or does she perhaps have a spare wheel on the side while her husband is not around? The more you go pry into people's affairs, you're going to discover things that are not good, but which you had no right to know of anyway, which is of no relevance to you. And that creates negative thoughts in your heart towards that person. Remember, we're not living in a world of angels. We're living in a world of human beings. Why must you go and pry in people's affairs? Spy here and snoop there and eavesdrop there. In the end, it impacts on your own peace of heart, peace of mind, and the stability of your own heart. And it creates then for you, now you say, whoa, this woman, she acts so pious. Oh, la-di-da, always preaching to everyone else and telling everyone else what they need to do. But when I saw her phone, wow, what I saw. Now you start generating hatred in your heart towards that woman because you feel, hey, society perceives her in a particular way, but I know something that they don't know. Or this guy here, he's the blue-eyed boy of the boss. And then I went into his computer and I saw he's doing his own personal work in company time. And he's doing this and he's doing that. And the boss loves him. The boss is also always referring to him as an ideal, staff member. Now, you had no issue with that person. All of a sudden, it starts breeding resentment because you went to pry, you went to snoop, you went to go and investigate something that you had no right investigating. So don't assume, don't be suspicious, don't go and interfere and pry in other people's affairs. Then there's one phenomenal hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is a crux of this entire discussion with regards having a heart which is free of hatred, malice, and rancor. And really, it's a summary of what we have been discussing for the last few weeks. This narration is in Ibn Majah. A Sahabi comes to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he says, Ya Rasulullah, Ayyun nasi afdal. Who is the best of people? Oh my Nabi, tell me, who is the best of people? I'd like to be from amongst the best. And this is good. May Allah reward Sahaba. They always strove to be the best in spiritual terms. Today you want to know, hey, which is the best car? So that I can consider that. Which is the best place to buy a house? Which is the best destination for holiday? They said, Ayyun nasi afdal. Who's the best of people? Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, Kullu makhmumul qalbi saduqul lisan. That person who you can classify his heart as makhmum and his tongue is truthful. So the Sahaba said, Ya Rasulullah, a truthful tongue, that we understand. That's straightforward. But what is this makhmumul qalb? Makhmumul qalb, can you unpack that for us, O Nabi of Allah? What does it mean? So the Nabi of Allah said, هو التقي النقي لا إثم فيه ولا بغي ولا غل ولا حسد. It is a person who has piety in his heart. He's pure of heart and he has piety in his heart. His heart is free of the intention to sin. His heart is free of the thought towards committing any injustice. He has no hatred in his heart and he has no jealousy in his heart. That is the best of people. That is the best of people. Yes, salah is important. Fasting is important. Charity is important. Showing solidarity with oppressed people is important. Doing what you need to do, going for Hajj, all of that is important. But your heart has to be clean. إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. Allah says on the day of Qiyamah, يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالُ وَلَا بَنُونَ. Your wealth won't help you. Your children won't help you. The only thing upon which you will be judged is whether your heart is sound or not. إِنَّ اللَّهَ تَعَالَى لَا يَنْظُرُ إِلَىٰ أَجْسَامِكُمْ. Allah doesn't look at your physique. وَلَا إِلَىٰ سُوَرِكُمْ. Allah doesn't look at your features, how pretty you are, how handsome you are. وَلَكِنْ يَنْظُرُ إِلَىٰ قُلُوبِكُمْ. Allah looks at your heart. How clean is your heart? And as we beg forgiveness from Allah, during these dying moments now of the month of Ramadan, we ask forgiveness for all the external sins. Let's ask Allah for forgiveness for all the internal sins of the heart and for the filth that we have allowed to accumulate in our hearts. Whereas Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam has said, the best of people is that man whose tongue is truthful and whose heart is clean. Meaning his heart is pure. He has intentions to do good. His heart is free of the intention to sin, free of any thoughts of injustice, free of hatred, and free of jealousy. And that's why Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam himself used to make dua in this regard. That waslul sakhimata qalbi. That, oh Allah, cleanse my heart. We must make this dua to Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. It should be part of our daily duas. That, oh Allah, cleanse my heart so I can come in front of you on the day of Qiyamah with a sound heart. If you look at Sahaba, they had clean hearts. Look at the great Sahabi, Abdullah bin Abbas, and a statement with regards to him. One day somebody was insulting him. Somebody was rude to him. He said, "Bhai, don't insult me. You know what? I got 3 qualities that makes me worthy of not being insulted." What are those 3 qualities? The first is, and he was the greatest mufassir of the Quran, as a result of the dua that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made for him. He said, whenever I pass a verse of the Quran and Allah inspires me with a particular understanding of that verse, immediately I wish that everyone could be blessed with the same understanding. Subhanallah. Today, if Allah privileges us with a particular bounty, whether it's the bounty of speech, the bounty of wealth, the bounty of the pen, whatever, we wish, no, only I must have it. Only I must have it. So the attention is focused exclusively on me. No, Abdullah bin Abbas said, when I'm inspired with something and I say, oh wow, I never knew that this verse could be interpreted this way or could be looked at this way, immediately my heart desires that everybody must have this knowledge that I have. Here's the second thing he says, if I hear about a just ruler from amongst the Muslim rulers, I get happy. Even though he may be a ruler in a faraway land and his justice does not benefit me, but because his justice are benefiting my brothers, I get happy. If I hear that rain has fallen in a faraway land, I get happy. Why do I get happy? Because even though I'm not benefiting, my cattle are not benefiting, my crops are not benefiting, but my brothers are benefiting. Subhanallah. That's what it means to have a clean heart, to want for others what you would want for yourself, to love for others what you would love for yourself. Then having a clean heart means that even when you are the person who is wronged, you are the person on the back foot, then too, you must have a clean heart. I made reference to this example previously. Look at what happened to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam at Uhud. His own people, in whose midst he had lived for 50 odd years, who gave him the title of Al-Amin, the trustworthy, who loved him and nurtured him. His own people are waging war against him. They kill 70 of his Sahaba. He loses his own blessed tooth. But what comes out of his lips? Today, you say, my own brother did this to me, I can never forgive him. My own wife did this to me, I'll never forgive her. My neighbor, never. Because of the close proximity in the relationship, the pain is more, Maulana, the pain is more. I'm saying, these people were the relatives of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They caused him so much pain. But what he said, in the middle of being under the arrows are raining down and shouting down. He says, Allahumma hdi qawmi fa innahum la ya'lamun. Oh Allah, guide my people. They don't know. Firstly, he pardoned them. He immediately pardoned them. Secondly, he's making dua for them, that oh Allah, guide them. Thirdly, he's making an excuse for them, that oh Allah, they don't know, that's why they're doing this. And fourthly, he's showing compassion by making dua for them. He's showing compassion. That's why the scholars write that when you see some behavior in a brother of yours, rather than being judgmental, try and make an excuse for him. إِذَا بَلَغَكَ أَنْ أَخِيكَ شَيْءٌ تَجِدْهُ عَلَيْهِ فِيهِ فَاتْلُبْ لَهُ الْعُذْرِ. Try and understand. Say, maybe he's doing it because of this reason. And if you can't come up with the reason, say, maybe he knows why he's doing it. But don't be judgmental. Try and see it from that person's perspective. Try and see it from that person's perspective. And don't go around looking at people's faults and worrying about people's faults and listening to people talk about people's faults. This is also another preventative in terms of allowing hatred to contaminate your heart and malice to contaminate your heart. We're talking here about keeping your heart clean. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has said that, O Sahaba, one of you should not come to me and tell me about what another person is up to. فَإِنِّي أُحِبُّ أَنْ أَخْرُجَ إِلَيْكُمْ وَأَنَا السَّلِيمُ الصَّدْرِ. This narration is in Abu Dawood. You know what? If you come and tell me, that person is involved in this and that, then when I meet that person, I'm going to meet him with a bad thought in my heart about him. And I don't like that. Who's saying this? The Nabi of Allah is saying that. He's saying, no, when I meet people, I want to meet them with a clean heart. I want to meet them with a clear heart. So therefore, if it's inconsequential to me, one is obviously somebody is plotting to harm you, then you have to be notified. Or if it has communal consequences, you have to be notified. But people's wrongdoings, don't tell me about it, because I want to have good thoughts about people. And by me having good thoughts, I protect my heart from being contaminated with evil. That's why it is mentioned, Al-Kayyisul Aqil wal-Fatinul Mutaghafil, that an intelligent person is he who has intelligence, but at the same time, he chooses to remain oblivious with regards to the faults of other people. Those faults that have no consequence to him. That's why it's actually commendable. Commendable. Today we say, no, but we need to know. You only need to know to the extent that you need to know. We want to know everything. Oh, really? Oh, he's like that. Hey, it's good you told me. So if I ever have any interaction with him, but you're never going to have any interaction with him. You just wanted to know because of the gossip value. And then there's no afiyat, because then it starts playing in your own heart. You don't have peace of mind. One day somebody said to Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal that another scholar has said that 90% of afiyat is that you choose to remain oblivious of the wrongdoings of others. Imam Ahmad said he's wrong. 100% of afiyat. If you want afiyat in your life, then you must choose 100% to remain oblivious of the wrongs of other people. So let's not become arrogant and wanting to know everything about everyone and investigating people and suspicious of people and assuming about people and considering ourselves right and considering them wrong all the time. Try to understand it from their perspective. Okay, I think we're going to go for a break shortly, inshallah, and when we come back, we will be opening the lines. I got one or two more thoughts that I want to share with you with regards the solutions in as far as ensuring that your heart is clean. But the question I'm asking today, and the lines are now open, how do we use this opportunity of Eid, which can be as early as tonight, latest tomorrow night, and the day after? How can we use this opportunity of Eid to ensure, after this whole process of 4 weeks of Ramadan, that we totally clean our hearts, offload the baggage from our shoulders, and meet people with clean and pure hearts? What ideas do you have in this regard? You can call us and we'll continue the discussion after the break, inshallah. Stay tuned.
فبالجهاد بنى الإسلام قوته فبالجهاد بنى الإسلام قوته
25 minutes to 10 approximately. You are watching the Sulaiman Ravat Show live from the ITV studios here in Sunninghill, Johannesburg. The lines are now open, 011-086-7701. We are now wrapping up our 5-part series over the 5 Sundays in Ramadan. We were talking about how to ensure that your heart is clean and how to have a heart that is free of malice and hatred and rancor. And for the last 15 minutes or so, we've been talking about some of these solutions. And my question to you this morning is, how do we use Eid as an opportunity to clean our hearts, to bridge the divide, to reconcile differences, to offload the baggage, and to say, you know what, it's just not worthwhile. Let's go forward in life, united as brothers. There's this famous hadith where Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, if you're in a dispute with someone, and you are wrong and you walk away, Allah will give you a house on the outskirts of Jannah. And if you are right and you walk away, Allah will give you a house in the middle of Jannah. Sometimes, to maintain a clean heart and to get on with your own life, and just for the betterment of everyone concerned, you need to walk away from disputes, even though you are right. You need to walk away from disputes, even though you are right. I think we have our first caller on the line. Assalamu alaikum. Oh, we've lost the caller. 011 086 7701. That's 011 086 7701. You can call us with your thoughts on how to use Eid as an opportunity to clean our hearts. It's unfortunate sometimes Eid becomes an opportunity where people actually fuel the fire. They start fighting with each other over silly things. Let's go to our caller. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Caller, you live on air. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Ji, sister, where are you calling from?
I'm from Petersburg.
Petersburg, mashallah. Ji, what are your thoughts?
I think on the auspicious days of Eid, I think we should give charity, which purifies our soul, so we can also get rid of jealousy and malice.
Good suggestion. Jazakumullah for that call, sister. Much appreciated. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. The giving of charity and the doing of good actions in the hope that will rid our souls and rid our hearts of all that which is dirty and grimy and all that which is contaminating it and soiling it and really making it a dirty heart. And a dirty heart is something which Allah frowns upon. You know, one scholar gave beautiful advice. He said, listen, if you want a clean heart in life, then abide by two principles. If you want a clean heart in life, abide by two principles. Number one, never have expectations of anyone. Never have expectations of anyone. And number two, when you do something good for someone, never expect anything in return. I'll elaborate on these two things in a short while when we come back from the callers, but just keep it in mind. The scholar said, if you can abide by two principles in your life, you won't be disappointed much. And if you're not disappointed much, you won't have hatred or disappointment in your heart towards anyone. The first is that never have expectations of anyone. And the second is, when you do good, don't expect any good in return. Let's go to our next caller. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Caller, you live on air. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. We seem to, just to advise our callers, when you come on air, you got to switch off the volume on your television set. Otherwise, you're going to get feedback and you're going to get confused. You won't know that you're live on air. 011 086 7701 is the number to dial. And we're asking you now, as we wrap up this discussion pertaining to having a heart which is clean, free of hatred and malice, we're saying, how do we use this Eid as an opportunity now to clean our hearts, to let go of the baggage, to bridge the divide, to reconcile the differences? Because as much as we cry over what's happening in Gaza, we'll never unite as an ummah if we can't unite here at grassroots level with our own family members, in our own communities. If we can't have our hearts, we can't clean our own hearts. Remember that. Remember that. Now, coming back to that advice that I was saying, the scholar said, if you do two things in life, you'll have a clean heart. Number one, don't have expectations of anyone. Today we have expectations of our children. We have expectation of our spouses, of our colleagues, this one, that one. And then people disappoint you. They can't come up to the levels of your expectation. Sometimes your expectations are too high, or sometimes even if your expectations are not too high, they just don't reach those expectations. So trust only in Allah and have minimal expectations of fellow human beings. You won't be disappointed because you never had the expectation. And when there's no disappointment, it won't bother you. It won't breed resentment in your heart. Let's go to the caller. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam.
Where are you calling from, my brother?
Annandale. You're speaking to Ayub.
Ayub from Annandale. Talk to me, brother.
Yes. The biggest one is forgiveness. Let us not stop forgiving each other. Although it's Ramadan, Ramadan is over. Let's keep on forgiving each other. Go to the nearest person you've done something to, ask for forgiveness. Allah Ta'ala forgive us each and every day. Why can't we forgive our brothers and sisters, inshallah?
Profound point. Actually, let me build on that. Let me say today to all the viewers out there, whole month of Ramadan, you've been asking Allah to forgive you. Today, say to Allah, oh Allah, so-and-so person has done wrong to me. I haven't forgiven them. Today, I'm forgiving them for your pleasure in the hope that you will totally forgive me. As Allah says in the Quran, وَلْيَعْفُوا وَلْيَصْفَحُوا أَلَا تُحِبُّونَ أَن يَغْفِرَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ. And when you forgive, then you're taking out all that baggage from your heart, all that resentment, all that hatred, all that jealousy. It all comes out now because you're forgiving. You're forgiving for your own benefit. You're unshackling yourself. So for your own emotional well-being and your own spiritual well-being in terms of reward. Let's go to the next caller. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Caller, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam.
Where are you calling from, my brother?
I'm calling to you, PE.
Port Elizabeth, the friendly city. Talk to me.
Yes, Sheikh.
I'm listening.
Actually, we can't be Hello.
Yes, I'm listening, Sheikh. Talk to me.
Yeah, they actually, sometimes it happens. We don't feel it. We just saw it on the TV what's going on Gaza, but we don't just make a dua. Some people, actually, I don't know what happened to those Muslims who live in this world those years, because they don't care each other, subhanAllah. I just to make dua for the Gaza people, and I would love to tell everybody who live around the world, they must make a dua for the Gaza, because it happened. A lot of Muslim people, they're going to die those years. I just said, may Allah help those who have no blessings, those who always hurting the kuffar people. That's all I would love to say, Sheikh.
Okay, Jazakumullah for the contribution. Much appreciated. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Yes, as I mentioned in the beginning, no doubt we need to focus on what's happening in Gaza, and we need to feel that pain, and we need to show solidarity, and we need to express our solidarity. But as the brother says, with what face do we stand before Allah and say, oh Allah, the leaders are not united. They're not coming to the help of the ummah, but we ourselves are not united. Oh Allah, they are disobeying you by not coming to the rescue of people that they can rescue. But we are also disobeying Allah Ta'ala by leaving our own brothers in the lurch, by leaving our own family members, in difficulty, simply because we have issues in our own heart. And what we need to do in terms of Gaza and in terms of the difficulties that Muslims are facing across the globe in the immediate term, that we need to do. Expression of solidarity, etc. But the real hard work is to start reforming ourselves, because that in the long term is what will put the ummah on a better footing. Inna Allah la yughayyiru ma biqawmin hatta yughayyiru ma bi anfusihim. Allah is not going to change circumstances until we change ourselves. So yes, when these things happen, we have to show solidarity, we have to talk about it, we have to make dua, and I spoke about that in my introductory remarks. But I want to re-emphasize that point. We need to start making changes in our own lives and in our own hearts. And that's why we spoke about this the entire Ramadan. A heart which is free of hatred and malice. A heart which is free of rancor. That was the recipe that Sahaba had. That was the secret weapon. Sahaba's hearts were clean. And when their hearts were clean, they drew the mercy of Allah, the assistance of Allah. And that's why they could go and progress, even though they were small in number. But we know what they achieved, and we know how they took Islam to the world. Also, whilst we talk about Eid, and the lines are still open on our topic, 011-086-7701, how can we use Eid as an opportunity to free our hearts of all the baggage and to reconcile differences, building that unity now that is required from the bottom up, that can make a difference to Muslims on a global level. Remember this, my mothers and sisters especially. I know you're going to be very busy today preparing for Eid, which could possibly be tomorrow or the day after. Brothers, you may be doing last-minute shopping and you may be assisting your wives. But think for a moment. We are going to be spoiled for choice tomorrow. When we sit on the table, 5, 6, 7 different dishes, our head is spinning. People will complain, oh, my stomach can't take it. And yet in Gaza, they don't know where the iftar for tonight is going to come. We're going to be reclining in our palatial homes. They don't have homes. It has been bombed to smithereens. In Syria, young children are feeding on rats because there's no food. And yet we have 4 or 5 different types of savories on our tablecloth and dastarkhan at the time of iftar. These are the bounties of Allah. As we enjoy these bounties of Allah, let's not become negligent of Allah. And let's beg Allah not to test us like He's testing our brothers. Their iman is strong. Really, their iman is strong. Our iman is not that strong. They can withstand it. They perform salah with bombs falling around them. We don't perform salah in the most palatial and comfortable of masajid. So, whilst we enjoy it, we should enjoy it. We should enjoy the bounties of Allah. But let's keep in mind, and maybe make a little of sacrifice. Cut down a little bit to show more solidarity with them. Let's go to the next caller. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Where are you calling from, brother?
I'm calling from Soweto.
Soweto, talk to me.
My name is Basir Abdurrahman. Sheikh, I have a small little problem. I think it doesn't concern the program you're doing today, but I just want you to advise me what to do.
Yeah, I'm listening.
My problem is, on the period of this Ramadan, I have a friend who is a Muslim that we go to mosque together. Then on Thursday, I was going out with a friend that is a Christian. I saw him smoking.
You mean your Muslim friend?
You come again?
Your Muslim friend was smoking?
Yes, please. Then my Christian friend asked me, but you guys are fasting. Why is he smoking? I said, I don't know. it was a problem because I didn't know what to tell him now. And my friend also, I don't know what to say to him.
Again, I get your question, brother. I'll respond. Jazakumullah for the call.
Jazakallah, Sheikh.
This is a very difficult scenario. Many times you see a friend of yours not fulfilling the commands of Allah. Remember, fasting is compulsory. It's obligatory upon those upon whom it's obligatory, right? And not to keep a fast because of minor illnesses here and there, you got a bit of a headache, you got a bit of a flu, you don't keep a fast, that's not acceptable. But the brother found himself in a very difficult situation. How do you explain to a non-Muslim? Well, the best thing to tell them is that, look, perhaps he's got some reason, perhaps he's got some excuse why he's not fasting. And also to be honest with them and say, look, our religion does make it compulsory, but sometimes human beings, due to their own weakness, they don't adhere. As far as the Muslim brother is concerned, with a lot of compassion, with a lot of love, explain to him that this fast that you're missing in Ramadan, even if you've got an excuse, but if it's not a proper, valid, severe excuse, you can never compensate for it. The reward that you miss out when you don't keep a fast in Ramadan, even if you fast the whole year, it cannot compensate for that. So why are you depriving yourself of such great rewards? But don't make him feel embarrassed. Don't belittle him. Talk to him with a lot of kindness and a lot of compassion. Let's go to our next caller. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Hello?
Yeah, assalamu alaikum, sister. You're live on air.
Okay, hello. This is Barbie from Zanin.
Yes.
I've got a question. I'm a bit confused. I hold a lot of grudge because I have a lot of family problems. I do a lot in writing. I do a lot of writing to help myself. Does it help?
You mean writing to process your emotions?
Writing to myself, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. It's a good thing to do because, look, as human beings, as much as we say forgive ultimately and let go of the baggage, it's a process that we need to take ourselves through. And writing is a good thing, to get those emotions out, to work it out. The only thing I would advise you is that, make sure that whatever you write is kept very private and very confidential. It mustn't be that somebody discovers those writings and then it can further complicate things. And also in the event of something happening to you, a sudden death, etc., what will happen to those writings? So perhaps maybe even destroyed. Just go through the process of writing so that you can vent your own emotions and get it out of your system. But after that, dispose of it.
Thank you very much.
Much appreciated, sister, for your call. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. The number to dial 011-086-7701. It's the final moments of the final program on this series that we were running over the 5 Sundays in Ramadan, where we were talking about a heart which is pure of hatred and malice, having a clean heart. And I'm asking this question now, and we're taking a few more calls before we terminate, that how do you use Eid as an opportunity to clean your heart and to rid yourself of all the baggage and to say, you know what, it's to my benefit, emotionally and spiritually in terms of reward, whether that person appreciates or not, to let go of these things and to ensure that I have a pure heart. Let's go to the next caller. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam.
Ji, sister, you calling from?
I'm calling from Johannesburg, Houghton.
Ji, I'm listening.
Okay, I just want to put into context what you said regarding forgiveness and being oblivious, and as well as giving people the benefit of the doubt. I want to know, is this in relation to the Muslim Ummah only, or is it just people in general? Because I'm thinking about, the Palestine-Israel conflict right now, and my non-Muslim friends who are pro-Israel. I wouldn't say it puts hatred into my heart, but it makes me very unhappy. And because I don't share the same sentiment. So in this context,
no,
what do I do?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question. This context is different. This is naked oppression and aggression. On the one hand, Islam teaches us that hate the sin, not the sinner. Because sometimes the worst of oppressors, Allah does give them guidance. Khalid bin Walid, for example, radiyallahu an, he was the one who was the catalyst for the Muslims suffering heavy losses at the Battle of Uhud. He was the one who led the charge that resulted in Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam losing his blessed tooth. But ultimately Allah gave him hidayat and he came into the deen and he did wonderful things for Islam. But on the other hand, this is not about being naive. That particular aspect of being oblivious to people's wrongdoings is that which is inconsequential to you as an individual or to the community as a whole. For example, if somebody is involved in an illicit relationship, that's between them, their spouse, and Allah. It's got nothing to do with you and it's got nothing to do with the community in general. Now, why do you want to, pry into that affair, see what's in a person's phone, see whether a person, for example, in the workplace is stealing company time for private work, etc. All of those things are wrong and all of those things they will be held accountable for. But when we start to pry into people's wrongdoings, it affects the cleanliness and the contentment of our own hearts. But this is a totally different context. This is killing of people in a blatant way. And there is no room to say, well, let's give them the benefit of the doubt, because there is no benefit of the doubt to be given when there's oppression.
Okay, no, I understand, but I mean, with my friends now in this context, how do I just go ahead and pray for them to get hidayat and probably...
You mean your friends who don't see them as perpetrators?
Yes, as in being pro-Israel, as in saying we back Israel because we believe what they're doing is right. I know the context.
On what basis? Yeah, you're going to try and understand. Are they saying they pro-Israel on the basis that they have become victims of the propaganda war? Remember, there are many people who are totally, their only source of information is media. And here in South Africa, we have big problems with mainstream radio stations in Johannesburg, TV stations. I was just looking at a report this morning that says the truce has come to an end because Hamas is firing rockets back into Tel Aviv. It's a very skewed way of saying things. So if they have that opinion because of just being victims of what they are fed through the media, then your job would be to try and very diplomatically try and conscientize them and educate them, give them the relevant material and put the relevant points across, but in a way where you convince them rather than estrange them.
Okay, so in this context, it's well, what you were saying is hatred or being oblivious is applicable to everybody in general.
Yes.
It's just not the ummah.
Okay, Jazakumullah for the call, sister. Much appreciated.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Yes, 011-086-7701. How can we use Eid as an opportunity to clean our hearts of hatred and malice, animosity, rancor, jealousy, and all the others that go with it? How do you use Eid as an opportunity then to say, you know what, I'm finally going to let go. Oh Allah, whole Ramadan, I'm telling you to wipe my past clean. Let me then also wipe the past clean in terms of issues that I've had with people and embrace them and move forward. Even if I don't tell it to them, but in my heart I say, this person, I've forgiven them for the pleasure of Allah. I'm cleaning my heart now. My goal going forward from Ramadan, as I said in the beginning, Ramadan cannot be only about the 30 days. Obviously, you can't do outside Ramadan what you do in Ramadan. The climate is different. You can't read as much Quran, as much dhikr. But take a few resolutions. Try and continue with a few actions. Recitation of Quran, dhikr. But more importantly, the spiritual, the insight. Say, you know what, after Ramadan, this month has taught me so much. After this month, I want to keep my heart clean. And I'm going to try and practice on these advices, inshallah. And as I said, the number to dial, 011-086-7701. Okay, I get an indication that our time is almost up. So we're going to have to leave it there. Unfortunately, no more callers. Okay, there's one more caller. We'll take that caller and then we'll wrap it up. I suppose as we get closer to Eid also, we need to understand that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala is most willing to accept our deeds, most willing to forgive our wrongdoings. We should have hope in the mercy of Allah, but there also needs to be that element of fear that I haven't done enough. That's what a believer does. You stay in that state, bain al-khawfi wal-raja, always culminating good deeds with istighfar. Do we have that call on the line? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Assalam. I'm not a Muslim, but I don't have much airtime. My name is Valerie. I would like you to address the thing of this Boko Haram, because since there's this thing I'm a teacher myself. I think it has traumatized the children, because the way they explain Islam and the Boko Haram is not, I think it's not fair. So I don't know what can we do to address that problem. Yes, miss.
Thank you so much for the call, sister. We really appreciate it. Much appreciated. Thank you so much.
So how are you going to help the children in the schools? How can you?
We need to educate children on their level. We need to explain to them that this problem is not.
What? Sorry, sir, before you go on, because I don't have much airtime.
Okay.
Can you send people, Islam people in the school, to explain what is Islam and what is Boko Haram, what is between the terrorism and the religion?
100%.
That is what I'm asking now.
We need to do that. We need to do that. You need to reach out to the Muslims in your vicinity. And,
sir, because I don't... sorry, I'm not rude. Before I can drop my phone, can you take my phone and talk to me after this show?
Okay, I'll tell my producers to take your number and to pass it on to me. Thank you so much for the call.
Thank you so much, because I don't have time.
No, I appreciate that. A very important question coming in there from the sister that...
Can I drop my phone now? They will phone me.
Yes, no problem. What will happen is that you've got to educate children on their level. It's an important point that the sister brings up, saying that as a non-Muslim, she's scared, she's worried. Young children are thinking, hey, these Muslims are barbarians, man. They kidnap school-going children and keep them for months. And we need to explain to them, firstly, that this got nothing to do with Islam. And secondly, we need to explain to them that in every religion, In every country, you will get people who will do things in the name of their religion, in the name of their country, in the name of their community, for their own purposes. Sometimes they know what they're doing is wrong, or sometimes they are misguided. They think they are doing what they're doing is right, but it's got nothing to do with their religion. And therefore, we cannot and we should not stigmatize the whole religion as a result of what these individuals are doing. And we should not scrutinize the actions of one group of people who do things in the name of their religion, and not so much when it comes to other religions, then creating a disproportionate impression. But these are the consequences of having a media that's so lazy, because they just regurgitate and at times intentionally misrepresent. But anyway, we're almost out of time. I get that indication. So I would like to take this opportunity to say Jazakumullah to all the viewers out there for interacting with us. We make dua for us, all of us here at ITV, for our families as well. May Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala accept all of our efforts, all of our du'as. And until we meet again, have a lovely Eid. Eid Sa'id. Fi amanillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
فاستنهضي همما فالمسجد الأقصى ما زال يدعونا ندي على الفتية الأحرار في زمن أضحى به الحق بالخذلان مدفونا فبالجهاد بنى الإسلام قوته وهل لغير القوي الناس يصغونا رباه هيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا فأنت من بالتقى والدين يهدينا أدعوك يا أمتي فاستنهضي همما فالمسجد الأقصى ما زال يدعونا ندي على الفتية الأحرار في زمن أضحى به الحق بالخذلان